If I told you that the base game of Minesweeper could be evolved into one of the most unique indie experiences you've probably ever played, would you believe me? I wouldn't either, but yet here we are. Demoncrawl is just that. Someone actually sat there and thought, how could we possibly turn Minesweeper into a truly engaging experience? And better yet, they followed through with the idea. What we're left with is, as mentioned, a truly unique experience. A Minesweeper roguelite with hundreds of items and, unironically, one of the absolute best soundtracks I've ever heard. It all sounds crazy, right? I know most of you have probably tuned out at this point at the mere mention of Minesweeper, but maybe just hear me out. I know I wasn't a huge fan, but this game evolved the formula and in simple ways that don't detract from the core experience. We all know what Minesweeper is, a classic logic puzzle game with a grid of any given size, filled with any number of game-losing cells, known as mines. Your job is to flag them all, using nearby cells' clues to avoid accidentally selecting one of the aforementioned bad cells. Simple enough, right? Well, Demoncrawl throws in a life and armor system, the chance to find gold, loot chests with over 500 different items each with their own use and effects, NPCs such as merchants, minions, etc. Now, don't let the sheer amount of additions to the formula intimidate you. In fact, only one particular thing should. Omens. Among the item types, which include passives, which just add an extra effect overall, consumables, which are single use, and legendaries, which are just basically super items, are these vile little things that just love to screw you over. Some are worse than others too. Some may prevent a specific uncommon circumstance, while some could spawn some detrimental little fiend that attempts to halt your advance quite maliciously. In order to get to any of this though, you need to actually play the game, and in order to do that, you have to make sure you don't get wrapped up in hanging out in the codex or even the options menu just to jam out to these fat tunes. So anyway, the main menu hosts 5 different main selections: Quests, Classic, Token Shop, Codex, and Quit. Quests are a series of themed stages where you'll find a majority of the incredible music. Classic is just classic Minesweeper, but there's also options to the top right, and an inbox, customization menu, and achievements to the bottom right. Finally, to the bottom left, there's your profile and level. Yeah, you level up, gaining experience from completing stages. With extra speed and not hitting any bad cells, or rather uncovering monsters, there's nothing that changes in terms of gameplay when you level up, but you do gain access to new profile icons at least. It does also get you tokens, a currency which can be found more uncommonly while playing the game. These can be used to purchase things like new profile icons, legendary items, or rather they'll be unlocked and you can find them in-game, and even slots for favorite items, which will be slightly more likely to appear. At least as likely as you are to pull a single item out of over 500. There are also masteries, which give you a passive bonus, but they have to be unlocked through specifically listed circumstances. They can allow you to start with bonus armor, bonus health, so on and so forth, and different themes for your inventory, among other cosmetics. Moving on, we'll talk about the game's... Moving on, we'll talk about this game's meat and explosive potatoes, the quest mode. You've got quite a few stages to play through in linear fashion, divided into 5 sections, plus a tutorial, each with their own bit of your story. It's somber, but being that I am a bit of a buffoon when it comes to more difficult Minesweeper boards, I haven't unlocked more than the second quest. I had to turn it down from normal to casual difficulty to even achieve that, and it turns out the different difficulty levels actually progress separately. Omens and the sheer number of bad cells were actually just too much for me for a while. A shame. These quests house more than 50 stages, and each and every one has their own music and theme. It's truly incredible that every single one of those songs manages to be something you just want to waste time listening to. Thankfully, the timer only counts up after you click the first cell in a stage, so you're free to sit and listen with no negative impact to your gameplay. This game also features some bonus modes, including endless and hero trial modes. Since I've only completed the first quest and still haven't seen them, I can only assume these are reserved for the masters, foretold in Weird Al's White and Nerdy. You know, I'm a whiz at Minesweeper, I can play for days. Succeeding in these quests is largely skill-based, but good RNG can help you a ton. For example, I ended up with some of the best armor and magic items in the game by pure chance on my most recent attempt of normal, which lent itself to my ultimate victory. After 12 hours of playing this game, gained bonus max lives, basically health, from an item, and defense from both armor and a passive item. Defense itself comes in 2 forms, armor and flat defense. Flat defense will nullify the amount of damage you receive from an enemy, though it can be no less than 1, and it does not deteriorate. While armor will outright negate damage to health, instead taking the damage itself, until eventually breaking down and disappearing like you do in every single situation because you never learned how to properly cope with a situation. The single worst thing about this game, however, has to be the stage mods. Not that they need to disappear, but the randomized nature of this game can be an incredible detriment when they occur. The game will tell you what each mod does as you come across them, but there are more than 50 and they can drastically alter your gameplay. Some may just prevent you from using magic items, while others may make a hefty amount of good cells still do damage to you if you click them. Others are just hilarious to me, such as the Communist stage mod, which takes a little extra gold each time you use it for redistribution. There are a lot of good ideas, but ultimately they can be a run-ending experience when you're just barely hanging on. So, while I haven't been able to fully experience all the game has to truly offer, I have experienced more than enough of the gameplay loop and enough of the actual content that I am more than happy to say, give this game a shot. I may not like how unfair it feels it can be. That's more the fault of the purely randomized nature of the game, though, than anything else. Plus, if you want a pure Minesweeper experience, it still has that as well, though it may not be worth the $15 entry fee just for that. I ultimately have almost nothing but good things to say about this game, however. The biggest hurdle for most is simply going to be the fact that, at its core, it's just Minesweeper. You got to at least have a passive interest in that to be able to get full enjoyment of this game. If you do, it's going to be one of the most unique experiences you'll probably have in gaming, even if it's not necessarily one of the greatest games ever made, or it's not something that's, going to change your life. It's still fun. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. This has been Phrieksho's Take.